I have been married to my husband for 17 years, and we have 3 sons and 1 daughter. Outsiders all say that we are a loving couple, treating each other with respect, but I know that my husband has a white moonlight in his heart. The white moonlight died early, becoming the true moonlight in his heart. So what? I have money and leisure, with children who are sensible and filial. A dead person can't compete with me. I've always believed that, until one day, I had a dream. I dreamed that my husband's first love was not dead, but was hidden by him in a house in the southern part of the city. My husband found an opportunity to bring his first love into the mansion and elevated her to the status of a co-wife. After the first love entered the mansion, my eldest son accidentally fell from a horse and became a vegetable. My second son got drunk, fell into a lake, and drowned. My third son fell off a cliff, leaving no trace of his body. And my beloved youngest daughter was violated and hanged herself. My children died tragically one after another, and I was utterly devastated, bedridden, and soon succumbed to depression and passed away. In the 2nd month after my death, he couldn't wait to elevate his white moonlight to the rightful position. When I woke from the dream, it was just at dusk. The orange-red glow spread from the horizon, filtering through the window lattice and scattering onto the bed curtains. The pillow was already soaked, my heart aching faintly, dreams and reality blurred, creating a sense of fragmented unreality. Madam, when you lifted the curtain and entered, "You're awake, have Yaroa and the others returned?" I asked. When you said, "The eldest and 3rd young masters have already returned. The 2nd young master is still studying and likely won't be back until after dark. The young lady came to see you earlier, but seeing you asleep, she went back." Upon hearing that all 4 children were safe and sound, my heart gradually settled. I told myself it was just a nightmare. Dreams are the opposite of reality. "Has the Marquis returned?" I asked. Wenju replied, "The Marquis has sent word that he won't be back for dinner tonight and asked you not to wait for him." In the past, I would never have doubted the truth of Wei Lang's words, but after having that dream, I simply couldn't sit still. In the dream, Wei Lang would go to that mansion precisely at the 3rd quarter of the hour of you every day. Checking the time, it was almost there. "Wenju, come with me to the southern part of the city," I said casually. "The Grand Princess's birthday banquet is approaching soon. Let's go check on the birthday gifts to ensure nothing goes wrong." Wenju had no reason to doubt it. The carriage arrived at the southern part of the city. I instructed the coachman to park the carriage in a secluded corner. After about a quarter of an hour, I indeed spotted a familiar figure. That figure was none other than Wei Lang. Wei Lang knocked on the door of the mansion, and a woman with a graceful figure and a beautiful face personally came to greet him. The 2 walked hand in hand into the inner courtyard. Seeing Wei Lang and his beloved together, a chill settled in my heart. The events from the dream had come true. Wei Lang indeed hid his white moonlight here. Liu Qianqian, who had died many years ago. Wenju was already terrified. She stammered, Madam, the Marquis, he." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. "All right, very well indeed. My Jiang family is a prominent and noble lineage. Although Wei Lang is the Marquis of Anping, by his generation, the Marquisate is merely an empty shell. I married down into the Wei family, bore him children, and supported the Marquisate for him. I have worked hard for 17 years to gradually restore the former glory of the Anping Marquis estate. And this is how Wei Lang repays me. I wish I could rush in right now and tear their faces apart. But, thinking of the tragic state of my 4 children in the dream, I slowly calmed down. Even if it escalates, I would only end up with a reputation for being jealous. It's meaningless, since Wei Lang dares to betray me. I no longer need to consider our marital affection, make a scene, then make it a big one. In the dream, Liu Qianqian was brought back to the Marquis's mansion by Wei Lang as his savior. The so-called savior was even more laughable. It was during their daytime indiscretions that an assassin happened to burst into their room. Liu Qianqian cried out in alarm, startling the assassin, who then stabbed her. Wei Lang carried the blood-soaked Liu Qianqian back to the Marquis's estate, mobilizing all the resources of the household to save her. After Liu Qianqian regained consciousness, Wei Lang declared that she had nearly lost her life saving him, and that the Marquis's estate must repay her kindness by elevating her to the status of a co-wife. In the dream, I truly regarded Liu Qianqian as my savior, respecting and honoring her in every way. Thinking about it, it's really quite laughable. When Ju saw me laughing and thought there was something wrong with my mental state, she was very worried. "Madam, are you all right?" "I'm fine. Let's go back to the mansion." Wenju was quite indignant. "Are we just going back like this? In my opinion, we should barge in and smash that little wench's face." I shook my head. "If we rashly go to expose them, it will only backfire. Just wait. There will be a good show to watch soon." 3 days later, it was the day when the assassin broke into the mansion and startled that pair of illicit lovers. Calculating that the time was about right, I headed to the southern part of the city again. As expected, dozens of officials dressed in divine turtle uniforms were hurriedly searching for someone. The divine turtle uniform is exclusive to the Imperial City's Divine Martial Guard. Any case that could alarm the Divine Martial Guard was certainly not a minor one. "Gentlemen, has something happened?" I lifted the carriage curtain, feigning a look of panic. The Imperial Guards recognized the carriage of the Anping Marquis. The leading officer stepped forward and saluted. "Imperial Guard Li Liang greets the Lady of Anping Marquis. The Imperial Guards are handling a case, for your safety. Please leave quickly." My hand trembled slightly, and my voice quivered. "I just saw a man dressed in black with a black cloth covering his face. I wonder if he is the person you are looking for." Li Ganban was overjoyed. "Has Madam seen him?" I pointed to the mansion not far away. "I saw him flee into that estate." Li Ganban turned and ordered, "Investigate immediately." A moment later, the Divine Martial Guards who had gone to investigate returned. "Sir, bloodstains were found on the courtyard wall of the mansion. The assassin is severely injured and cannot have gone far. It is highly likely they are hiding inside the mansion." "Madam, you have been of great help." Li Ganban clasped his hands in gratitude. "The assassin is extremely dangerous. Please leave quickly." I nodded. "Li Ganban, go ahead and capture the assassin. I will lead the nearby residents to evacuate." Li Ganban clasped his hands again. "Thank you for your trouble, madam," I said to Wen Zhu and Wen Lan. "Find a safe place and go scatter the money." Wen Zhu was clever and knew what I intended to do. Excitedly, she pulled Wen Lan along to scatter the money. The crowd rushed forward in a frenzy. Divine Martial Guards are handling official business. Blades and swords have no eyes. "So we urge everyone to leave with us quickly," Wen Zhu said. "The Anping Marquis estate will take you to a safe place." The crowd followed the carriage at a distance, neither too close nor too far. "Madam, it's the servant from the Marquis's side." Wen Zhu pointed in a direction and suddenly exclaimed. I exclaimed in surprise. "Wen Zhu, quickly, go ask him if the Marquis is also nearby." "All right." The clever little Wen Zhu ran over. Seeing Wen Zhu, the servant's face visibly paled. At that very moment, a scream erupted from inside the mansion. "Marquis!" The servant was terrified out of his wits and dashed toward the house. "Is the Marquis in that mansion?" I exclaimed in shock. "Quick, turn around." The carriage swiftly headed towards the mansion. By the time I hurriedly arrived, the assassin had already been captured. "Officer Li." While I was leading the people to evacuate, I saw my husband's servant. The servant said the Marquis is in this mansion. Was the Marquis affected by the incident? Li Ganban's expression was extremely unpleasant. The members of the Shunwu Guard also had varied expressions. "Look at the bed, that woman isn't wearing any clothes. What are they doing in broad daylight?" When I panicked and came to the mansion, some brave commoners followed along. The Imperial Guards were well trained and would not speak out of turn, but these commoners had no inhibitions and spoke bluntly, in full view of everyone. Liu Qianqian and Wei Lang were still in bed. They were greatly frightened. Because Liu Qianqian was injured, she didn't even have time to cover her back. Liu Qianqian, completely naked, was exposed in front of the Divine Martial Guards and the common people. "Marquis, Marquis." I staggered back 2 steps. What are you doing here? What are you doing?" Phut, overwhelmed with rage, I staggered, my eyes rolled back, and I fainted. "I'm dizzy, I'm faking it." The maids, Wen Zhu and Wen Lan, supported me on either side, continuously calling out "Madam." The commoners spoke one after another, their words growing increasingly harsh. The situation was already out of control. It won't be long before the romantic affairs of Lord Anping spread throughout the capital. I felt the timing was about right and it was time to make my exit, so I secretly gave Wen Zhu a pinch. Back in the carriage, Wen Zhu and Wen Lan were still seething with anger, especially Wen Lan. Only then did she learn that Wei Lang had done such a disgraceful thing, and she was furious, clamoring to go scratch that woman's face. What's the point of scratching her face? I slowly opened my eyes. Are you just going to let her off like that? Let go. I looked at my well-maintained hands. How could I let go of that despicable couple who dared to lay a hand on my children? However, it's not worth dirtying these meticulously cared-for hands for someone who is already doomed to die. The dead should stay in their coffins, I said with a smile. As for Wei Lang, in my world, there's only widowhood. That very night, Wei Lang stormed into my room in a rage. Jiang Wn, did you do it on purpose? Did you deliberately lead the divine martial guards to that house? Did you do it just to see me make a fool of myself? Are you happy now that I've embarrassed myself? My heart sank bit by bit. 17 years of marriage, hidden for 17 years, with just one move. His true colors were revealed. Wei Lang, I interrupted him coldly. What ability do I have to command the divine martial guard? Not only can I not, but even you, Marquis, cannot. The divine martial guard belongs exclusively to the royal family. Please do not speak recklessly, Marquis. Wei Lang was left speechless. His gaze at me was as if laced with potent venom. You still try to deny it. I've heard it was you who led the divine martial guards to the mansion. Yes, it was me. I did not deny it. I saw with my own eyes that the assassin hid in that mansion. What is wrong with informing the divine martial guards of the assassin's whereabouts? An assassin who could be captured by the divine martial guard is certainly no small figure. As the wife of the Marquis of Anping, I hold a noble title and receive the Emperor's salary. If I do not share the Emperor's concerns, that would be a grave fault. Moreover, how could I have known that the Marquis would be in that house? How could I have known that the Marquis would engage in such reckless behavior with that woman during the day? And how could I have known that the assassin would break into your room? If the Marquis fancies any woman, he need only inform me, and I would not stand in the way of him taking a concubine. But what has the Marquis done, engaging in an illicit affair with an outside woman? Only to be caught red-handed by the divine martial guard in the midst of their investigation. It is you who has brought shame upon yourself. You who has made a fool of yourself. Instead of blaming yourself, how dare you point fingers at me? Wei Lang's face turned livid with anger. He pointed at me, fuming for a long time, yet couldn't manage to utter a single word in rebuttal. The divine martial guard is handling a case. Why were you at that mansion? And why were you leading a group of commoners? Don't tell me this is also a coincidence. Ha! I gave Wei Lang a mocking glance. Perhaps the Marquis should ask the servant by your side. Wei Lang was furious. He was convinced I did it on purpose. Trying to find my flaw, he immediately turned and went out, kicking the servant on the shoulder. You speak. The servant trembled like a sieve. Reporting to the Marquis, I ran into the lady on the road. She was very surprised to see me and asked about your whereabouts. I didn't want to say anything at first, but then a scream came from the mansion. I panicked and instinctively called out Marquis. The lady turned pale with fright, fearing that the assassin who had broken into the house might harm you, so she followed me inside. The servant's voice grew softer and softer. What about those commoners? What were they doing there? Wei Lang asked again. The servant lowered his head. It was the lady who was evacuating the commoners. Those people thought the Marquis was in danger, so they followed. Wei Lang, feeling irritable and restless, kicked the servant over. He paced back and forth in the courtyard, his face as dark as an inkstone. Madam, Wenju said nervously, why hasn't the Marquis left yet? Has he discovered something? I lazily tugged at the corner of the blanket. What could he possibly find out? He wouldn't discover anything except for his own frustration. He's not leaving because he needs something from me. Liu Qianqian was severely injured, and ordinary doctors could not treat her. To save Liu Qianqian's life, a royal physician was needed. Royal physicians held the 6th rank and only treated the royal family and the nobility. As a concubine, and one whose disgrace was known throughout the capital, which royal physician would dare to take her case? Wei Lang needs my cooperation to save Liu Qianqian. Just as expected, Wei Lang paced in the courtyard for a long time before finally coming inside. Qianqian is severely injured and hanging by a thread. She needs a royal physician. And then, I remained unmoved, picking up the teacup and taking a small sip. You summon the imperial physician under the pretext of your illness. As long as you cover your face, the physician won't know who you are. so you can just, bang, furious. I hurled the teacup to the ground, the teacup shattered into pieces, and the maids and servants in the room knelt down in fear. Wei Lang, perhaps you should listen to what you're saying, a mistress who flirts with men in broad daylight, causing a scandal that everyone knows about, and you want me to impersonate her, the Honorable Lady of Anping, a first-rank titled lady. You want a shadowy figure to impersonate me. Wei Lang, are you looking down on me? Or are you looking down on the Jiang family? Wei Lang seemed not to have expected me to resist so strongly. He frowned and said, "Stop trying to intimidate me with such talk, it's just a small favor, yet you refuse to help someone in need. How can you be so heartless?" I was so angry at Wei Lang that I laughed. What a heartless refusal to help, what a cruel person. After 17 years of marriage, only now have I seen how heartless and ungrateful this person before me truly is. In the capital, countless people fall seriously ill every day. Why don't we see the Marquis requesting imperial physicians for the common people? If the Marquis doesn't request imperial physicians for them, does that mean he is also turning a blind eye to their suffering? Wei Lang angrily flicked his sleeve. "You are being unreasonable," I sneered. "The Marquis should know the rules regarding imperial physicians. Imperial physicians are exclusively for treating the royal family and nobility. If an imperial physician were to treat your mistress, a person of such low status, it would be tantamount to lowering their own standing and slapping the faces of the royal family and nobility. Moreover, the treatments provided by imperial physicians, including who they treat and how, are all recorded in official registers. I'd like to ask you, how bold are you to dare conceal such a thing? The divine martial guards witnessed today's events, and you still think you can deceive everyone. Aren't you afraid of being charged with deceiving the emperor? Aren't you afraid of bringing down the entire Anping Marquis estate?" Every word I spoke struck Wei Lang's sore spots. Wei Lang's face turned red, then black, then white. It was quite amusing to watch. "I'm tired. Wenju, see the Marquis out." I gave the order to see him off. Wenju was very disappointed in Wei Lang. She picked up a broom. "Please step aside, my lord. This servant needs to sweep. My lord, please move again. This servant also needs to sweep here." Wei Lang was swept out the door. The next day, I have a good appetite and had an extra bowl of porridge for breakfast. After breakfast, I took a walk in the courtyard to aid digestion. Wenju spotted Wei Lang approaching from afar and hurried to fetch a broom. "Madam, the Marquis is here again. Shall I sweep him out once more?" "No need," I said with a smile, stopping her. "I've been waiting for him." Wei Lang seemed to have not slept all night. His eyes were dark and sunken, stubble had grown out, and he looked noticeably more haggard. Perhaps having calmed down, there was a hint of guilt in his gaze as he looked at me. I ignored him and turned to leave. "I want to take a concubine." Seeing my indifferent attitude, Wei Lang's trace of guilt vanished completely, and he straightforwardly stated his purpose. "Oh, that's a joyous occasion. Congratulations," I said carelessly. "Aren't you going to ask who I want to take as a concubine?" Wei Lang was dissatisfied with my reaction. I smiled faintly. "In any case, it won't be the one you've been hiding in the house." I hit the nail on the head, and Wei Lang looked a bit uncomfortable. "I want to take Xiangning, the girl from Lanyu Tower, as my concubine." I nodded to show that I understood. Wei Lang's decision was within my expectations. Yesterday, everyone only saw Liu Qianqian's back, not her face. Wei Lang's plan to have the famously beautiful courtesan from Lanyu Tower replace Liu Qianqian was the safest approach. When Lan, have someone tidy up a courtyard to welcome the new concubine. When Lan reluctantly agreed, "Does the Marquis have other matters?" Seeing Wei Lang not leaving, a flicker of impatience flashed in my eyes. Wei Lang hesitated slightly. Involving Liu Qianqian's life and death, he still mustered the courage to say, "Qianqian will enter the mansion as my cousin. I have already arranged everything, and the imperial physician has examined Qianqian. The physician can only preserve her vital signs, but to save her life, 1,000-year-old ginseng is needed. I remember you have one here. Does the Marquis mean for me to give her the 1,000-year ginseng?" I looked at Wei Lang. Wei Lang's eyes flickered. "It's useless to keep it with you anyway. The 1,000-year ginseng is my dowry. The Marquis wants to use my dowry to save his mistress." I laughed. The Marquis truly has an extraordinary thickness of skin. Wei Lang was somewhat irritated by my jab. "At most, I'll exchange it for silver." Jiang Wn, I advise you not to push your luck too far. 1,000-year-old ginseng is priceless on the market. I cut him off. 30,000 taels of silver. Once the Marquis has gathered the sum, come to me for the ginseng. You know my temper. If you keep whining, I'll throw it straight into the manure bucket. Wenju, let's go back inside. Wei Lang was furious, but in the end, he said nothing and stormed off, his sleeves flapping. Wenju's eyes were red. Madam, the Marquis wasn't like this before. What kind of bewitching potion has that woman given him? He was just hiding it well before, and now that it's been exposed, he can't be bothered to hide it anymore. I comforted Wenju. There's no need to be so angry, it's not worth it. But that was 1,000-year-old ginseng, part of your dowry. Spending 30,000 taels of silver to buy 100-year-old ginseng, I'm not at a loss, I said with a smile. Liu Chanqian was seriously injured, but not so seriously that she needed 1,000-year-old ginseng to save her life. 100-year-old ginseng would be sufficient. Even if I didn't give them the 1,000-year-old ginseng, the imperial physician would have informed them that 100-year-old ginseng could also save her life. 30,000 taels of silver, roughly all the money Wei Lang spent on Liu Chanqian, using a century-old ginseng to make them obediently cough up this money. I'm not at a loss. The news that Xiangning, the top courtesan of Lanyu Tower, had been taken as a concubine by the Marquis of Anping quickly spread. The common people instinctively assumed the courtesan was the woman in the mansion. The scandal of the Marquis of Anping has also turned into a romantic, historical tale. From beginning to end, no one mentioned Liu Chanqian. She was extremely well protected. When Wenju told me the news he had gathered, he was filled with indignation. I sipped my tea slowly and deliberately. Calm down, I said. This outcome was within my expectations. Wei Lang is not foolish. A small affair of catching him in the act won't bring him down. Even if the matter of the mistress were to blow up, it would still be nothing more than a family affair. A few sarcastic remarks from outsiders are nothing to someone as thick-skinned as Wei Lang. Even, Wei Lang also knows that I won't allow this matter to spread. After all, if the Anping Marquis's household loses face, the Jiang family, along with me and the children, will also be disgraced. The Jiang family values reputation. And my children are almost at the age of marriage. I absolutely will not let any scandal affect them. Wei Lang is fearless and unafraid. I find it quite ridiculous. Wei Lang probably doesn't know that Liu Chanqian is not as gentle and understanding as she appears on the surface. Her ambitions are grand indeed. Unfortunately, Liu Chanqian's ambitions do not match her status. To climb higher, she needs to find a powerful backer. The backer Liu Chanqian has set her sights on is the princess. The Grand Princess is the biological elder sister of the current emperor. During the intense battle for the throne, in the midst of the chaos, the Grand Princess took a knife for the emperor. The emperor seized the opportunity to kill the rebel leader and successfully ascended to the throne. However, the Grand Princess fell into a coma, and the imperial physicians diagnosed that she would never wake up again. 3 years later, the eldest princess miraculously awoke. The emperor was overjoyed and issued a general amnesty. As a result, the eldest princess held an exceptional status. With the eldest princess as a powerful backer, one could command the wind and summon the rain. In my dream, Liu Chanqian, under the protection of the princess, managed to escape unscathed after harming my children. The tragic state of Yarowa and the others appeared before my eyes. My throat felt as if it were being choked, with waves of pain and suffocation washing over me. My face turned deathly pale, and I struggled to catch my breath. Madam, Wenju was startled. What's wrong with you? Wenju's voice shattered the suffocating feeling. I took a few deep breaths. I thought of some unpleasant things. After a pause, please invite Yarowa and the others to join me for the meal. In the evening, the 4 children gathered around me, chattering away about the fun things that had happened over the past few days. The feeling of suffocation was gradually replaced by a sense of fulfillment. I secretly vowed that even if it cost me my life, I would not let Liu Chanqian climb the social ladder by attaching herself to the princess. The princess's birthday banquet was drawing closer. Wei Lang came to find me. After so many days apart, the first thing he said upon seeing me was, for the Grand Princess's birthday banquet, take Chanqian along to broaden her horizons. I was reviewing the account books and didn't even look up. As your cousin, of course, impossible. I won't bring just anyone to the banquet. Wei Lang was provoked by my attitude. Jiang Wn, do you have to speak like that? How am I speaking? I sneered coldly. The Grand Princess's 50th birthday celebration is an exceptionally grand affair, attended only by royal nobles and distinguished figures. A small marquisate like our Anping marquisate can only be seated at the very end. At the banquet, you must not take a single wrong step or utter a single wrong word. You know full well what status Liu Qianqian holds. If she causes any trouble, it won't just be her downfall, it will be the ruin of the entire Anping marquisate. Wei Lang dismissed it with indifference. You're just making up these high-sounding excuses again. Qianqian is so well behaved, she won't cause any trouble. You just need to keep a close eye on her. Smash. I slammed the account book heavily onto the table. Wei Lang, for the sake of our marriage and our 4 children, I warn you, Liu Qianqian is not a woman who knows her place. She has ulterior motives for attending the princess's birthday banquet. The princess holds a unique position. Be careful not to invite a wolf into your home and bring about your own ruin. Wei Lang was furious. Jiang Wn, gossiping behind someone's back, is this the upbringing of your Jiang family? I looked at Wei Lang's furious expression and shook my head. Heaven's wrath can still be forgiven, but self-inflicted calamity is beyond redemption. Wei Lang, give up on this idea. I will never take Liu Qianqian to the banquet. I've said all I have to say. You'd better take care of yourself. See the Marquis out. Wen Zhu, who had long prepared a broom, once again swept Wei Lang out the door. Wen Lan was just returning from outside and passed by Wei Lang. Madam, you didn't see it. But the Marquis's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. Wen Lan said, did he come to argue with you again? Wen Zhu angrily waved her broom. The Marquis wanted the lady to take that vixen from outside to the banquet, but the lady refused. He got so angry and embarrassed that he threw a huge tantrum at her. Wen Lan, the Marquis really has his heart blinded by lard. Wen Zhu spat, don't insult the lard doesn't deserve that blame. I'd say his heart is blinded by manure, if anything. Wen Lan wholeheartedly agreed. I chuckled, forget about him. Wen Lan, how is the task I asked you to handle going? Wen Lan patted her chest and assured, don't worry, madam, it's already taken care of. I nodded, picked up the bird's nest soup on the table, and savored it slowly. Wen Zhu sighed and said I was too carefree, still in the mood to eat bird's nest soup at a time like this. I was quite puzzled. What conflict is there between Liu Qianqian and Wei Lang rushing to their deaths and me eating bird's nest? They do their thing, I eat mine, each minding their own business. When she was dumbfounded after hearing my explanation, for a long while, she couldn't utter a single word, simply picking up the broom and silently sweeping the floor. Soon, it was time for the Grand Princess's birthday banquet. As expected, I saw Liu Qianqian's figure at the banquet. I had no idea what means Wei Lang used to get Liu Qianqian in. Liu Qianqian stood at the very end of the line of women, her eyes constantly darting around, her body habitually fidgeting with small movements. If it were a matter of sweet, intimate gestures, Liu Qianqian's little actions might have been endearing to a man, but on an occasion like the Grand Princess's birthday banquet, among a crowd of noble women who strictly adhered to etiquette, her behavior was truly too petty and unrefined. I let out a soft sigh. It seems that Wei Lang didn't take a single word of my advice to heart. In the dream, after the granddaughter of the Grand Princess, Princess Wenyo, fell into the water, Liu Qianqian disregarded the cold weather and the deep lake, jumping in to save her. Fortunately, Liu Qianqian rescued her in time, and the little princess's life was not in danger. However, Liu Qianqian, who was already injured, had her wound torn open and was now in critical condition. Upon learning that Liu Qianqian's injury was sustained while saving Wei Lang, which mirrored her own experience of taking a knife for the emperor, the princess consort felt even more compassion for her. Thus, Liu Qianqian became the princess consort's benefactor and honored guest, taking advantage of her protection to act as she pleased, and Wei Lang's status rose accordingly. Liu Qianqian's act of jumping into the lake to save someone was actually fraught with suspicion. With countless servants by her side and the banquet venue far from Longevity Lake, how could the young princess have fallen into the water for no reason, and how did Liu Qianqian arrive just in time? Having grown up in a secluded mansion, I have some understanding of the tactics used by women in the inner courtyards. Liu Qianqian's methods are far from subtle. This kind of unconventional, self-serving scheme can be deadly when it backfires. Today, if Liu Qianqian doesn't cause trouble, that's fine. But if Liu Qianqian does cause trouble, then that would be perfect. After the banquet, a group of people accompanied the princess to watch the opera. This opera tells a story about good deeds being rewarded and evil deeds being punished, illustrating the cycle of karma. The story is rather cliched, however, the princess loves to listen to it, and on every festival, she always invites the opera troupe to perform. If it were any other day, I would have been lulled to sleep by now, but today, it sounded particularly delightful. Wenju quietly leaned in and whispered in my ear, "Madam, Liu Qianqian has left her seat." "Oh," I acknowledged, then continued to listen to the opera attentively. Wenju was frantic. "My dear lady, how can you still be in the mood to listen to the opera? That wretched girl left her seat, likely up to no good. This is the princess's birthday banquet. If she causes any trouble, stay calm." I patted Wenju's hand. "If Liu Qianqian doesn't stir up trouble, wouldn't this trip of mine be in vain? She stirs up trouble, and I get to enjoy the show." Wenju was still very anxious. When Lan said mysteriously, "The madam is wise and has already made arrangements. We just need to wait and watch the show." At this moment, on the stage, the play had reached the thrilling part where the villain gets his just desserts. The princess consort liked this part the most, leading the applause with a "well done" and ordering a reward to be given. The noble women in the audience also followed suit, rewarding with gold and silver ingots. I was different. I directly rewarded with a stack of silver notes. The grand princess and the noble ladies were all stunned by my simple and unadorned reward. "May the sun and moon shine brightly, and the pines and cranes live long." The sun, moon, pines, and cranes on the banknote are such a perfect match for you, the esteemed elder. I smiled with curved eyes, emphasizing sincerity. The grand princess clapped her hands. "This is wonderful." She smiled at the noble ladies and said, "It seems we were the ones being vulgar." Seeing the princess happy, the noble women chimed in, each taking out silver notes to tip the performers. As the opera ended, the stage was already covered with scattered silver notes. Under the sunlight, the sun, moon, pine, and crane patterns on the silver notes shimmered brightly. The noble women took the opportunity to recite many birthday poems, delighting the princess and making her overjoyed. "It's quite lively over here." In the distance, a clamor could be heard. The eldest princess was in high spirits and wasn't annoyed by the disturbance. She said to everyone, "It seems there's some excitement over there too. Let's go and have a look." The wives of the clan accompanied the princess. A large group of people departed in a grand procession. After most of the crowd had left, I leisurely wrapped a few pieces of pastry in a handkerchief. Wenju was nearly frantic with anxiety. "Madam, how can you be so calm and unhurried?" "Stay calm," I reassured Wenju. "We're here to watch the show, not to perform in it." Watching a show, after all, it's more enjoyable when you have a good seat and bring along some snacks and refreshments. Besides, the stage has already been set. As a character in the play, Liu Qianqian had no way to escape. Even if she didn't die, she would still be stripped of a layer of skin. Seeing that the princess and her entourage had already walked far ahead, I quickened my pace, doing my best to keep up as a little follower. By the lake, a large crowd had already gathered. The little princess, who had just turned 3, was being held in the arms of a tall, handsome man with a face as fair as jade. The imperial physician was taking the little princess's pulse. The little princess seemed frightened, trembling as she curled up in the man's arms. Both of them were soaked from head to toe. "Wenyo, Xiaoju," the princess consort exclaimed in shock. "Why are you both drenched?" "Princess." The wet nurse of Princess Wenyu wept bitterly. "I deserve death. I deserve death. I failed to take good care of the princess, allowing her to fall into the lake. Fortunately, the 9th prince saved her. Otherwise, I deserve 1,000 deaths. Please, princess, punish me." The princess's face turned deathly pale. Her son and daughter-in-law had died on the battlefield, and Wenyu was the only bloodline they left behind in this world. The agony of a parent burying their child left her in unbearable pain. It was Wenyo's existence that compelled her to keep living. Despite the struggle, Wenyo was her sole solace. She cherished her as dearly as her own eyes. If anything were to happen to Wenyo, the grand princess felt her vision go dark. Her anger surged to the top of her head. "Guards! Drag this wretched servant out and beat her to death." The wet nurse lay prostrate on the ground, closing her eyes in despair. "Aunt," the ninth prince said gravely, "this matter has nothing to do with the wet nurse, Lord of the State. Please explain how the events unfolded." The Lord of the State refers to the Duke of Jeanne. "Who is my father? My father has always been known for his integrity and impartiality." The princess may doubt anyone, but she would never doubt my father's words. "Duke of Jeanne, you speak, word for word, tell it all." "Yes." The Duke of Jeanne cupped his hands in salute. "Your subjects were admiring flowers on the opposite shore of the lake when we saw a woman push Princess Wenyor into the water and then jump in after her. However, the woman fell into the lake far from Princess Wenyor, who had already sunk beneath the surface and was in grave danger. Fortunately, the ninth prince promptly jumped into the lake to rescue her, and Princess Wenyor narrowly escaped disaster. Bring her up." The Duke of Jeanne ordered the thoroughly drenched Liu Qianqian to be brought forward. "Your Highness, this is the person." Liu Qianqian trembled uncontrollably, her face was deathly pale, her hair disheveled, and she looked utterly wretched. She seemed to be frightened, her body going limp as she knelt down. "I've been wronged, Your Highness, I've been wronged. I didn't push the young lady, she was being mischievous and went toward the lake. In my panic, I grabbed her arm, I couldn't hold on to her, and after she fell into the water, I jumped into the lake as well. I only wanted to save her. I never intended to harm anyone." May the Grand Princess see clearly. Upon seeing Liu Qianqian, the wet nurse's eyes widened. "Grand Princess, it was her. She was the one who sent me away." Having grown up in the Deep Palace, the Grand Princess had witnessed countless schemes. As shrewd as she was, she had already guessed Liu Qianqian's intentions. This woman truly pushed Wenyor into the lake, and she truly jumped into the lake to save Wenyor. Wanting to be an elegant savior is even more genuine. Many people have schemed against her, but this is the first time someone has dared to use elegance to plot against her. The eldest princess was moved to kill. "Since you want to save people, then let you save to your heart's content. Guards, kick her into the lake, and don't pull her out until she's nearly breathless. Do not stop without my command." Two burly women approached Liu Qianqian, one on each side. "Spare my life. Your Highness, please see the truth, I am innocent." "Ah!" With a splash, Liu Qianqian was kicked into the lake. When Liu Qianqian could no longer struggle, the maids pulled her back up. After several rounds of this, Liu Qianqian was already breathing more out than in. Wei Lang's face was even darker than before. He glared at me fiercely, using lip language to urge me to plead for mercy. How laughable. I've worked so hard to wait for this big show, and I haven't seen enough of it yet. Why would I plead for mercy? I took a piece of pastry from the handkerchief right in front of Wei Lang, slowly placed it in my mouth, and savored it with great delight. Wei Lang was so furious he nearly spat blood, wishing he could tear me apart with his gaze. When Lan, being tall, subtly blocked Wei Lang's line of sight, when she was absolutely livid, in a voice only the two of us could hear, she cursed. The Marquis must have had his heart smeared with dung. That vixen has made such a grave mistake. Yet the Marquis had the lady plead for her. "Pa, I hope the princess swiftly executes that little enchantress." I couldn't help but laugh. Wenju was perfect in every way, except for her overly hasty temper. "Liu Qianqian won't die," I said calmly. "First, Princess Wenyu was not seriously injured. The Grand Princess was merely enraged and had no need to resort to killing. Second, Liu Qianqian stubbornly refused to admit her guilt. Third, since everyone was at a distance, Wei Lang would most likely use the excuse of misseeing to cover for Liu Qianqian. This way, the Grand Princess cannot convict Liu Qianqian without a conviction. There naturally is no reason to punish or kill her, just as expected. Seeing that Liu Qianqian could no longer bear it, Wei Lang had no choice but to step forward. "Grand Princess, there may be some misunderstanding in this matter. Qianqian is still severely injured and hasn't recovered yet. How could she possibly harm the little princess? We were quite far away at the time, so it's possible we might have misseen things. Today is your birthday, Princess. If someone were to lose their life, it would be most inauspicious. After all, the little princess is unharmed. Please be merciful and spare her life." The princess gave Wei Lang a cold glance. "What is she to you?" Wei Lang said guiltily. "Qianqian is my cousin." He knelt down and kowtowed heavily several times. "The matter has not been clarified yet, so I beg your highness to be lenient." Are you saying that I am slandering her? Wei Lang felt as if needles were pricking his back. I dare not. I merely feel that convicting someone based solely on one-sided testimony may be somewhat biased. As soon as Wei Lang spoke these words, the surroundings suddenly fell silent. The princess stared at Wei Lang for a long moment before finally laughing in frustration. Well, what a one-sided testimony indeed. What a biased statement. Lord Zhenghua, do you also think so? My father, upon being called out, instinctively glanced at me. When my father looked at me, I was just finishing the last piece of pastry. After finishing my meal at a leisurely pace, I wiped my mouth, ready to give my father a hint. Before I could finish wiping, my father seemed to read my mind and gave me an "I understand" expression. Princess, the truth of the matter is now clear. The health of Princess Wenyo and the ninth prince is of utmost importance. My father's words may seem ordinary, but they carry great weight. At this point, everyone knows the truth of the matter, however. Liu Qianqian stubbornly refuses to admit guilt, and with the witnesses being quite far away, it's a bit tricky to handle. This matter also involves the ninth prince. The palace is a deep and treacherous place. Even the slightest disturbance can cause widespread alarm. If things escalate further, it might bring other matters to light. The Grand Princess, being astute, quickly grasped the situation. Liu Qianqian's death is of no consequence. If Liu Qianqian's death were to affect Wen Ya and the ninth prince, it wouldn't be worth it. Take your cousin and get out of here. Don't let me see her again, the princess commanded sharply. Wei Lang breathed a sigh of relief, thanked her for her mercy, and left with the barely breathing Liu Qianqian. The crowd gradually dispersed. From afar, my father gave me a wide grin. I know that smile well. It's the same grin he wears when he's trying to win my mother's favor. I really can't figure out how my father managed to deduce all that from the simple act of me wiping my mouth. On the way back to the mansion, Wen Zhu sighed with regret. What a pity that wretched girl managed to escape with her life. Everything unfolded as expected, so I didn't feel any regret. Wei Lang and I are still husband and wife. The Jiang family and the Anping Marquis estate share both glory and disgrace. It's really blown up now, hurting the enemy 1,000 while losing 800 of our own. Not worth it. Liu Qianqian and Wei Lang have completely lost the support of the Grand Princess. That is enough. I had just returned to the mansion. Wei Lang stormed in right after me. Jiang Wn, are you satisfied now? Qianqian has been tortured to the brink of death, barely clinging to life. Are you happy now? I looked at Wei Lang as if he were a fool. What am I satisfied with? What am I happy about? What does it have to do with me? Wei Lang gritted his teeth. You really are a venomous woman. If you had kept an eye on Qianqian, how could she have run off? If your father hadn't come forward to testify, how could Qianqian have been slandered? And how could the princess have punished her? Don't think I don't know what you and your father are scheming. Jiang Wn, I'm warning you. If anything happens to Qianqian, smash. My palm landed heavily on Wei Lang's face. 5 finger marks were clearly visible. Have you said enough? I shouted sternly. Wei Lang, before going to the banquet, I warned you that Liu Qianqian is not a well-behaved person. Did you listen? Not only did you not listen, but you also went out of your way to bring her to the birthday banquet. Wei Lang, ask yourself, if she was simply attending the banquet to broaden her horizons, how could Liu Qianqian have barged around in front of everyone? Don't give me any nonsense about her getting lost. With so many people coming and going at the birthday banquet, it's impossible for Liu Qianqian to have gotten lost near Longevity Lake. Anyone with half a brain can see what she's planning. Liu Qianqian nearly caused a disaster. How dare you blame me? What right do you have to accuse me? Also, how dare you bring up my father? If it weren't for my father stepping in, both you and Liu Qianqian would have been in deep trouble, if not worse. Wei Lang, if you had the courage to take responsibility, I might have respected you as a man. You dare to do it but not own up to it, and even try to shift the blame onto me. You're truly disgusting. Wei Lang was stunned by my blow. He had never imagined that I would lay a hand on him. He just stared at me, gritting his teeth, and said, Jiang Wn, how dare you hit me? Aren't you afraid I'll divorce you? I smiled. Divorce? He's not worthy. Wei Lang, listen carefully. In my world, there is only death or widowhood. I said this with utmost seriousness. Wei Lang, however, dismissed it with disdain. He knew he was in the wrong but refused to admit his mistake. using the opportunity to unleash a torrent of anger. Like a madman, he smashed everything in my room that could be broken. I have never been one to take a loss lying down. I usually settle scores on the spot. I led Wen Zhu and the others to smash Wei Lang's study to pieces. After smashing it, I set it on fire. When Wei Lang hurried over, the fire was already beyond control. All the rare calligraphy and paintings in the study, along with various documents, were destroyed, leaving nothing behind. Wei Lang was nearly driven mad with rage, shouting and yelling at me. I was overjoyed, watching Wei Lang's helpless fury. Whoever makes me unhappy, I'll make them unhappy. As expected, if he's unhappy, then I'm happy. Wei Lang, I taunted him, you wrecked my room, I'll burn your study. You destroy one part of me, I'll return tenfold. Whatever tricks you have, bring them on. Seeing my tit-for-tat nature, Wei Lang actually backed down. On top of that, Liu Qianqian's wound reopened, and her high fever wouldn't break. Wei Lang was busy taking care of her and had no energy to fight with me. Life settled into a brief period of calm. I know, this calm is merely the prelude to an impending storm. The autumn hunt is approaching. In my dream, my Yaya fell from his horse during the autumn hunt, fell into a coma, and became a vegetable. Yaya excels in riding and archery. His beloved horse, Fengkai, is the most well-behaved and gentle. If no one had tampered with it, he wouldn't have made such a basic mistake as falling from a horse. Right now, Liu Qianqian has her hands full, so Yaya should be able to avoid this disaster. I thought this to myself, but I still felt uncertain. On the day of the autumn hunt, early in the morning, my heart was in turmoil, and I kept sending people to gather information. Just after noon, when Lan, who had gone to gather information, hurriedly rushed back. Something's wrong, something's wrong, something's happened. When Lan ran until she was out of breath, Madam, something's happened. My heart skipped a beat. Is it Yarrow who's in trouble? No, no, no. When Lan waved her hands, it's not the young master who's in trouble. It's the young master's horse that's in trouble. The young master's horse was fine at first, but it suddenly went mad just before noon. Dozens of guards couldn't control it, and it didn't stop until it crashed to its death. Fortunately, the young master wasn't riding that horse. If he had been riding it, when Lan said with lingering fear, I breathed a sigh of relief. A few days ago, I had when Lan find an extremely rare Fergana horse. That Fergana horse had been meticulously cared for outside all along. I didn't have the horse given to Yarrow until just before the autumn hunt began. Yarrow changed horses at the last minute and narrowly escaped disaster. Investigate. I want to see who dares to harm my Yarrow. This case is not difficult to investigate. Soon, I sorted out the whole story. After reaching a conclusion, I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cellar, my entire body turning cold. I had always thought that Yarrow's fall from the horse in the dream was orchestrated by Liu Qianqian. In my dream, I was drowning in sorrow and anger, overlooking many details. Only now, upon careful investigation, did I realize that the one who truly harmed Yarrow was none other than his own biological father, Wei Lang. Wei Lang wants to get rid of Yarrow, wants to get rid of his own son. When Zhu's eyes were red, how could he be so heartless? How dare he take revenge on Madam in this way? I shook my head. No, Wei Lang would never kill Yarrow just to spite me. Wei Lang's move against Yarrow must have some ulterior motive. Have Yarrow come over? I steadied my mind. Yarrow was clearly frightened. When he came to my room, his face was still pale. Mother, kneel down, I commanded. Yarrow was taken aback for a moment, then knelt down with a thud. I gave Wen Zhu and Wen Lan a meaningful look. Wen Zhu and Wen Lan closed the door securely and stood guard outside. My voice was icy cold. Yarrow, tell me honestly, have you offended anyone outside? Yarrow lifted his face. Mother, Yarrow has always remembered your teachings and never caused trouble outside. Then do you know who harmed you? Yarrow's face turned even paler. He witnessed Fengkai's death with his own eyes. If it weren't for his mother sending him an extremely rare Fergana horse, and he, out of novelty, didn't ride Fengkai to the autumn hunt, it wouldn't have been just Fengkai who died, but him as well. Yarrow does not know. Have you said something to your father recently? I asked. Yarrow avoided eye contact. No, are you still going to hide it from me? Yarrow, seeing my anger. Yarrow dared not conceal the truth any longer and lowered his head. Father has been bewitched by that woman in the backyard. I went to persuade him. hoping he would reconcile with mother. But father scolded me instead. Nothing else. No, nothing else. Yarrow, I slammed the armrest of the chair heavily. You still refuse to tell the truth. Yarrow was frightened by my demeanor. He pursed his lips, his body trembling slightly. Mother, please don't ask. Your son has his reasons, I sneered coldly. He's after your life, and you're still keeping secrets for him. Yarrow was greatly shocked. He widened his eyes, disbelief flickering in them. Is it him? I nodded. Having received the definitive answer, Yarrow felt as if all his strength had been drained from him, and he slumped to the ground in despair. In that instant, his filial affection for his father vanished completely. Yarrow lowered his head, his voice faint and despondent. I accidentally overheard my father's conversation and learned about his embezzlement. I wanted him to stop, which led to some conflict between us. I completely understand. Wei Lang wanted to eliminate Yarrow to silence him. Yarrow is his own flesh and blood. How could he bear to do it? How dare he? Thinking of the tragic state of my 4 children in the dream, the last line of defense in my heart was shattered. I understand. I closed my eyes. You should not stay in the Marquis's residence for now. Go find your grandfather. He will arrange everything for you. Yes. After Yarrow left, I slumped in the chair. It was a bit chaotic, a bit frustrating. After drinking several cups of tea in a row, my mood finally calmed down a little. The reason Wei Lang targeted Yarrow was beyond my expectations. Embezzlement. This offense can be either minor or major. After all, the Anping Marquisate has a century-old foundation. Even if investigated, it won't suffer any serious damage. But Wei Lang hastily killed Yarrow to silence her because she discovered his embezzlement, which clearly doesn't add up. I remembered something. When I smashed his study, I discovered a hidden room. The study was completely burned down, including that hidden room, but the things from the secret room are all with me. Wenju, bring the items we found in the study's secret room. I flipped through them one by one. The more I read, the more shocked I became. Wei Lang's corruption was not ordinary bribery. Wei Lang embezzled military supplies. They filled the grain carts with stones, placing only a thin layer of grain on top to pass inspections. They replaced the soldiers' winter cotton clothing with willow catkin garments, replaced fine weapons with scrap iron, and life-saving herbs with weeds. The soldiers lacked food, clothing, medicine, and weapons, causing delays on the front lines. The renowned god of war, General Xiao, was left in disarray after his supplies were cut off. All the sons of the Xiao family died on the battlefield. In that battle, the son and daughter-in-law of the princess also perished. Of the 100,000 soldiers of the Xiao family, not a single one returned. When news of the Xiao family's defeat reached the capital, it was maliciously slandered as a result of the Xiao family colluding with the enemy and betraying the nation. The emperor was furious, and all members of the Xiao family were imprisoned, awaiting execution after the autumn. The myth of the Xiao family army was thus extinguished. After reading all the letters and account books, I was left in a daze for a long time. An army of 100,000 men, that's 100,000 living souls. They didn't die under the swords of their enemies. They perished in the power struggles and scheming among their own people. How tragic. The wealthy and powerful in the capital city, living in luxury and comfort, take their extravagant lives for granted. Not only do they plot schemes to take their lives, but they also turn the tables, leaving heroes with no place to rest their souls and causing their families to suffer unjustly. How hateful. I cannot imagine how disappointed those passionate young men must have been when they saw military rations turn into stones, cotton-padded jackets into mere rags, and medicinal herbs into weeds. I can't even begin to imagine how desperate these martyrs must have felt as they starved and froze to death. They fought to the death to defend this country. They defend the peace of the border with their lives and blood, yet those in the capital trample on their flesh and blood, bully their children, and tarnish their reputations. I look at each letter, each ledger, grief and indignation intertwine, piercing my heart with pain. No wonder Wei Lang wanted to kill Yarrow to silence him. No wonder Wei Lang is so ruthless. With all these crimes, even exterminating his entire clan would not be excessive. Wei Lang deserves to die. But, with just Wei Lang, a minor Marquis of Anping, it would be impossible to achieve such a level. Wei Lang is likely just a tool. The one manipulating this tool. From these letters, I can roughly deduce who it is. The emperor is critically ill and has not yet designated a crown prince. All eligible princes are coveting that position. For that position, they would not hesitate to take lives and resort to any means. The succession of the throne is like the autumn wind, when the wind suddenly rises. It can form whirlpools that devour people. In the struggle for power, ordinary people are like ants caught in a tornado, helplessly swept up by the storm, with no means to resist, just like me, apart from grief and indignation, and apart from unwillingness, all that remains is a profound sense of powerlessness. The autumn wind rustles, and the fallen leaves drift desolately. I gaze out the window. Outside the window, the yellow leaves on the ginkgo tree are swept up by the wind, swirling in mid-air, stubbornly refusing to fall. Like a life struggling ceaselessly in the vortex of time, it suddenly occurred to me, even knowing that their supplies had been cut off, the Xiao family army still defended the city, still charged into battle, with not a single one retreating, not a single one deserting. Until they died heroically in combat. What were they thinking before they died? Weren't they afraid of death? I suppose, being flesh and blood, they were afraid too. It's just that, compared to death, they wanted to protect this country and their families even more. Even if they are betrayed, stabbed in the back, they still adhere to their beliefs and are willing to risk everything to defend the land they love. I am a woman. Propriety has placed layer upon layer of shackles on women. I cannot go to the battlefield to kill enemies, nor can I achieve great feats. I also cannot strive for dominance in this whirlpool of power. All I can do is break free from these shackles as much as possible, and protect the people I want to protect in this whirlpool, as well as do everything I can to the best of my ability. The wind has picked up in the capital. It's time to settle this. I returned to the Jiang family home, Jiang family study. My father and I stared at each other, wide-eyed. After a long stare-off, my father gave in. I lost, my father said, picking up his tea. I can't outstare you. Don't worry about Yarowa's matter. I've already taken care of everything. I said, I'm not here for Yarowa. Father, have you decided which prince to support? My father was drinking tea. Upon hearing my words, he nearly spat it out. What did you say? I took a handkerchief to wipe his face. The emperor's health is deteriorating day by day. I have reliable information that he won't make it through this winter. My father grew serious. He furrowed his brow and said, Wana, this is not something you should interfere with. I stand with the 9th prince, I said. The 9th prince cares for the world and is the most suitable for that position. At the Grand Princess's birthday banquet, the 9th prince saving Princess Wenyo was no coincidence. I had sent a message to the 9th prince in advance. Father, my mind is made up, and I hope you can support me. My father looked at me seriously for a long while. Wana, what is it that you seek? He asked. I smiled. My father is truly my father, the one who understands me best. I want to sever all ties with Wei Lang and take the children with me. If we divorce, I can only return to the Jiang family, but my children must remain in the Anping Marquis estate. If the Anping Marquis estate is executed to the last man, Yarowa and the others won't escape either. I want to protect my 4 children, and I also want to secure their futures. My father was shocked, then his eyes reddened. He bullied you. My father used a declarative sentence. I did not continue the conversation. The conflict between Wei Lang and me was no longer just a marital dispute. Father, do you know the truth behind the fall of the Xiao family's army? Before my father could respond, I spoke each word slowly. My voice filled with sorrow. 100,000 passionate young men. They did not die under the enemy's swords, they perished in the struggle for imperial power. They were killed by the 3rd prince, they died unjustly. My father was greatly alarmed. Wana, be careful with your words. I have evidence, I said. I have proof that the downfall of the Xiao family's army was a scheme orchestrated by the 3rd prince and Wei Lang. The emperor's days are numbered, and the princes are all scheming against each other. Yet, the position of the crown prince remains undecided. The Xiao family won't be the only sacrifice, the next one might be our Jiang family. My father fell silent. I continued, among the princes of suitable age, only the 3rd prince, the 7th prince, and the 9th prince have a chance to ascend to the throne. The 3rd prince is ruthless and selfish, cold-hearted by nature. If he ascends the throne, the people will likely suffer, and our Jiang family will not fare well either. The seventh prince is timid and indecisive by nature. With a powerful maternal clan, if he ascends the throne, he will likely become a puppet. Our Jiang family has had many conflicts with his maternal clan. If the seventh prince becomes emperor, the Jiang family will likely come to an end. The ninth prince is benevolent but not soft-hearted, generous but not cowardly, decisive in his methods, and cares for the world. He is the most suitable candidate. Father, we cannot stand aside. Once the emperor passes away, whether we are willing or not, we will be drawn into the vortex of power. I do not want the Jiang family to become the second Xiao family. The ninth prince is currently weak and at a disadvantage. I want to do him a personal favor, so that when he ascends the throne, he can ensure the safety of the Jiang family and protect me and the children from being implicated by Wei Lang. My father looked at me, unable to speak for a long time. I didn't say anything more, because I knew my father loved me. I also knew that my father understood better than anyone that, whether for the Jiang family or for the people, the ninth prince was the most suitable candidate to become emperor. That night, my father invited a few people to drink at the restaurant owned by the ninth prince. I didn't sleep all night, I was exhausted, and my head ached. My mind, however, remained clear. In the dream, after my 4 children died tragically one after another, I too succumbed to depression and passed away. I did not know the outcome for Wei Lang, the fate of the Jiang family, or who ultimately ascended to the throne. All I knew was that after Wei Lang and Liu Qianqian connected with the princess, their fortunes soared, and their status rose accordingly. Before, I always thought that Liu Qianqian wanted to climb up to the princess as a backer. After discovering Wei Lang's secret, I had a new idea. The princess held immense weight in the emperor's heart. If Liu Qianqian managed to attach herself to the princess, on the surface, it would be Liu Qianqian who benefited. After unraveling the layers, the ultimate beneficiary turned out to be the third prince. Liu Qianqian's actions at the birthday banquet might have been instructed by the third prince and Wei Lang. This conspiracy was far more terrifying than what appeared on the surface. The more I thought about it, the more frightened I became, and the more I couldn't sleep. So, I pulled Wen Zhu, Wen Lan, and a few other maids to play tiles all night. We stayed up all night. My eyes were bloodshot, and I looked quite haggard. The next day, I killed the coachman who had poisoned Feng Kai, my eyes dark with exhaustion. I then ruthlessly purged the backyard, selling off many people without even asking for reasons. The Anping Marquis estate was thrown into chaos, with everyone fearing for their safety. Wei Lang had been observing me from the shadows all along. I swiftly cleaned up the backyard but didn't confront him head-on, which convinced him that I hadn't traced the matter back to him. With the study burned and the evidence destroyed, Wei Lang temporarily let his guard down. Meanwhile, I secretly met with the ninth prince, bringing along all the evidence. As the ninth prince looked through the box of letters and account books, his expression grew increasingly grim. How dare they, a full 100,000 troops? They shed their last drop of blood for Great Qi, only to be slandered as rebels. The sons of the Xiao family died on the battlefield, and now the elderly, weak, women, and children are to be executed, wiping out the entire clan. How dare they? The ninth prince's eyes reddened, his fingers trembling. I waited for the ninth prince to calm down. Your Highness, let's hand this evidence over to the princess. The ninth prince suddenly looked at me. I said, delay breeds change. The son and daughter-in-law of the Grand Princess also died in that battle. I think the Grand Princess wants to clear their names more than anyone else. The ninth prince understood what I meant. As perceptive as the Grand Princess, she knew exactly how to clear her son and daughter-in-law's names after obtaining this evidence. Relying on the terminally ill emperor was not an option. Once you start investigating, you'll alert the enemy. The third prince and his allies, driven to desperation, will launch a rebellion ahead of schedule. The only way is to persuade the emperor to issue a will, abdicate, and catch them off guard. I said, my father must have already spoken to you. I, along with the Jiang family, fully support your highness. As for the Grand Princess, your highness need not worry, your highness. By presenting the evidence of the third prince's collusion with Wei Lang to the princess, someone as astute as her will surely see through the conspiracy between the third prince and Wei Lang at the birthday banquet. The ninth prince stared at me intently. What do you seek in return for helping me so much, Lady Marquis? I chuckled lightly. Wei Lang colluded with the third prince to embezzle military supplies, delayed military intelligence, and caused the defeat of the Xiao family's army. This act is tantamount to treason, his crimes are heinous, and even the execution of his entire family would not be excessive, but my 4 children are innocent. I don't want them to lose their future because of Wei Lang. What I seek is for your highness to serve as a witness, certifying that my 4 children and I have severed ties with Wei Lang. The 9th prince's expression was inscrutable. Is that all, even without me, lady who should be able to manage, I said. I can certainly go to the bitter end with Wei Lang, but what happens after the fish dies and the net breaks? The emperor's health is failing, and he is too feeble to handle state affairs. That position will inevitably fall into the hands of one of the princes. If it falls into the hands of the 3rd prince, both I and my children, as well as the Jiang family, will face utter disaster. Your Highness, I said with utmost seriousness, I admit I have my own selfish motives, but beyond that, I also know that only Your Highness is truly capable of taking that position. I am merely a woman. After uncovering those pieces of evidence and learning about the tragic and wrongful deaths of the Xiao family's army, aside from grief and indignation, I can do nothing. Your Highness is different. If you were to ascend to that position, you would be able to clear the names of these 100,000 passionate warriors. You would not let heroes shed blood and tears. I believe you are the wise ruler that millions of people have been longing for. You will be a good monarch. The 9th prince looked at me. Does the Marchioness know how treasonous your words are? I said, I hold an official title, receive the emperor's salary, and share the emperor's worries. The 9th prince is the sovereign we are loyal to. How could it be treasonous for me to have a heart-to-heart conversation with my sovereign? The 9th prince's gaze grew profound. He simply stared at me. Though I am a woman, I still felt awkward under his gaze. To ease the awkwardness, I quietly picked up a pastry and put it in my mouth. The 9th prince probably didn't expect me to have the mood to eat during such a serious and tense private conversation, and for a moment, his expression turned rather complicated. I also realized it was inappropriate and put the pastry down. My apologies, it was a force of habit. The 9th prince finally laughed out loud. Having been in the royal family for so long, I can't remember the last time I had such a straightforward conversation. Last night, the Duke of Zhenghua said something similar. The 9th prince fetched a piece of paper. He wrote down his promise on the paper and even pressed his fingerprint. He left behind a jade pendant. This is my token. Please accept it. Lady Hu, the sincerity of the 9th prince took me by surprise. I solemnly accepted the jade pendant. Your Highness. This humble wife has one more request. I would like to ask Your Highness to help investigate Liu Qianqian's identity. I only know that Liu Qianqian is Wei Lang's first love, but I am unaware of her background. Wei Lang, Liu Qianqian, the 3rd prince, me, the Jiang family. I always feel that there are countless connections between us. All right, the 9th prince said. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. The 9th prince acted swiftly. Not long after we parted, he sent someone to deliver a letter. The moment I saw the letter, I felt as if struck by lightning. My mind went blank for a moment. Liu Qianqian was not originally surnamed Liu, but Fang, with the given name Qingru. Liu was her mother's surname. In the widespread imperial examination fraud case 20 years ago, the Fang family was executed to the last member, including the 12-year-old Fang Qingru. The fraud case of that year shocked the entire court and the public. The Fang family took advantage of their official positions to select some impoverished scholars who had passed the imperial examination during the autumn exams, secretly killed them, and then replaced their exam papers with those of wealthy and influential students, thereby engaging in a covert substitution scheme to collect huge sums of money. General Xiao unintentionally saved a scholar who was being pursued and, upon learning the truth, reported it to the emperor. The emperor was furious and ordered my father to thoroughly investigate the matter. With irrefutable evidence, the Fang family confessed without hesitation. That case ended with the execution of the entire Fang family. But how could a mere Fang family have the audacity to meddle in the imperial examinations? The Fang family is likely just a pawn. The real mastermind behind meddling in the imperial examinations and killing impoverished scholars to replace them is someone else. The Fang family's willingness to confess is most likely the result of some deal they made with the mastermind, for example, to spare Liu Qianqian's life. Although the Fang family has fallen, for the past 20 years, they have been scheming relentlessly. Under their schemes, the Xiao family was destroyed, and 100,000 troops died unjustly. After eliminating the Xiao family, the next target was the Jiang family. In the dream, the tragic deaths of me and my 4 children marked the beginning of the tragedy. Great, what a clever scheme. I read that letter over and over again countless times. In the end, I burned it to ashes. Before, I had gone to great lengths to find an excuse to sever ties. An excuse, and here it comes knocking on my door. I am not one to hesitate. Immediately, I went to see Wei Lang. I already know Liu Qianqian's true identity. With the first sentence of our meeting, I left Wei Lang speechless. Wei Lang froze in place, his eyes widened, his face turned pale, and his entire body trembled. Looking at him, I wanted to laugh. This man is really hilarious. What foolishness did I commit to have lived in mutual respect with him for 17 years, and even bore him 4 children. Fortunately, my 4 children take after me. Not him, a small blessing in the midst of misfortune. Sign this severance document, and we will cut all ties, I said. What if I don't sign it? Wei Lang completely dropped his pretense. What can you do to me? I looked at Wei Lang's hideous, disgusting face. If you don't sign, I'll expose Liu Qianqian's true identity. Wei Lang gritted his teeth. Jiang Wn, how dare you threaten me? I smiled. If you think it's a threat, then it's a threat. Wei Lang, if I had been kept in the dark, you could have continued your grand delusions and enjoyed the blessings of 2 women, but now that I know your hypocrisy, your filth and depravity, the sight of you disgusts me. Rather than loathing each other, it's better to cut ties. My child will stay with me, and you and your Qianqian can live happily ever after. Everyone wins. If you insist on refusing, then it will be a fight to the death between us. If people find out that Liu Qianqian is actually Fang Qingru, the daughter of the disgraced official who should have been executed long ago, do you think you can protect her? Wei Lang stared at me with a sinister gaze. I sneered mockingly. You destroy me by 1 part, I'll return it tenfold. Want to try? Wei Lang had witnessed my ruthless retaliation and knew that if pushed to the brink, I was truly capable of fighting to the death. He was also aware that the emperor was nearing his end. The 3rd prince had been strategizing for so many years. And with everything in place, ascending the throne was only a matter of time. He had endured for 20 years and no longer needed to hold back. I agree to it. Wei Lang said. Jiang Wn, I'm warning you, if Qianqian's identity is exposed, both you and your Jiang family will be left with nowhere to be buried. I sneered. Don't worry, I have no interest in you 2 lovebirds. May you live happily together for 100 years, and may you be locked in place forever. I took the severance letter and moved out with the children that very night. The second day after the severance, Wei Lang couldn't wait to make Liu Qianqian his official wife. The wedding procession stretched for miles, with an extravagant display of red dowry. Apart from Yaroa, who knows I've been secretly planning to sever ties, the other 3 children feel I've been wronged and are outraged on my behalf, clamoring to disrupt their wedding. I have already severed ties with Wei Lang. From now on, we are strangers, just a passerby, no need to pay any mind. The children, with tears in their eyes, think I'm just putting on a brave face. Don't cry, this is a good thing. Yaroa gave each of the 3 little ones a flick on the forehead. We should congratulate mother on escaping her misery. I nodded. Exactly. Congratulations to all of us. On such a joyous day, we should celebrate properly. When Lan served the dishes were very sumptuous. The children's attention was quickly captured, and no one mentioned Wei Lang again. Autumn deepened, and the wind grew stronger. Faintly, there was already a sense of winter. I'm afraid of the cold. Once the weather turns cold, I hide inside the house, either playing cards with the girls or brewing tea by the stove. All the storms and upheavals outside seem to have nothing to do with me, yet they are all under my control. No other reason. The 9th prince sends someone to deliver letters every day. One day, as usual, I received a letter from the 9th prince. This letter was different from the previous ones, containing only an address. I arrived at the address as agreed. I went up to the 3rd floor and saw the 9th prince pacing in the private room. Upon seeing me, the 9th prince's furrowed brow relaxed. Lady Jiang, I want you to meet someone, he said. He clapped his hands. Come out. A person emerged from the inner room. After clearly seeing that person's face, I was utterly shocked. You're that assassin. That's the assassin who broke into Wei Lang's mansion, disturbed the wild lovebirds, stabbed Liu Qianqian, and was caught by the divine martial guards. Right, after spending more time with me, the ninth prince has grown to trust me a lot, and his speech has become much more casual than before. When I was investigating Wei Lang, I discovered him. You'll never guess his true identity. I looked at the assassin seriously for a moment, unfamiliar, never seen before. I really can't guess, I said. Take off the mask, the ninth prince said. The assassin turned his back. When he turned around, I saw a familiar face. Xiao Qilang, I exclaimed in surprise. The seventh son of the Xiao family, Xiao Qihan, and Yaowa are like fire and water. They often compete in archery and martial arts, with neither willing to admit defeat. Every time Yaowa loses, she gets so angry that she can't eat. Mentioning Xiao Qilang makes Yaowa bristle like a cat whose tail has been stepped on. However, upon learning the news of Xiao Qihan's death on the battlefield, Yaowa shut herself away for 3 days and 3 nights. Aunt, it's me, Xiao Qilang said with a sorrowful expression. I managed to survive. Tears welled up in my eyes instantly. I covered my face, my voice choked with sobs. What do you mean by managed to survive? You survived honorably. The scoundrels who harmed you are the ones who merely exist. They are the ones who deserve to die. Xiao Qilang immediately burst into tears. Qilang, how did you survive, and how did you become an assassin? I asked. The ninth prince said. Xiao Qilang was severely wounded on the battlefield. Fortunately, the dragon scale armor protected his vital points, and he was lucky enough to fall into a river and be swept away by the current, which is how he managed to survive. After he struggled back to the capital, he received the news that the Xiao family had been accused of treason and colluding with the enemy, and the entire family had been executed. He could no longer show his face as Xiao Qilang and had to disguise himself. He wanted to gather evidence, sound the grievance drum, and clear the Xiao family's name, while infiltrating the third prince's Liwang mansion to collect evidence. He was mistaken for an assassin by the patrolling Shenwu guards and pursued. He could have avoided them, but he risked following Wei Lang into that mansion only because he saw him. Hearing this, I understood everything. In the dream, I didn't go to catch the illicit lovers, and Xiao Qilang never appeared, most likely having been eliminated by Wei Lang. My intervention led Xiao Qilang to fall into the hands of the divine martial guards, which ironically allowed him to survive. We have already found the evidence, I said to Xiao Qilang. Xiao Qilang had clearly already learned about this from the ninth prince and showed no surprise, only expressing his sincere gratitude to me. Are you the only one who survived? I asked. Xiao Qilang's expression darkened, recalling the brutality of that battle. He still trembles all over to this day. Besides me, there are 2 others. The son and daughter-in-law of the princess, the prince and princess of Linyang, are also still alive. The prince of Linyang lost a leg and has difficulty moving. He is being cared for by the princess consort and is recuperating in a safe place. I was somewhat surprised. The son and daughter-in-law of the princess both died in that battle. Their remains have already been buried and were personally claimed by the princess. How could there be any mistake? Xiao Qilang said. In the final battle, everyone knew they were going to die, yet they still defended the city to the last. My grandfather, in order to preserve the bloodline of the princess, ordered the prince and his wife to leave first. The prince refused, so my grandfather knocked them unconscious and hid them among the refugees. The deputy general by my grandfather's side and the deputy general of the princess exchanged clothes with them, taking their place to die, to avoid being discovered. They deliberately disfigured their own faces. They were unrecognizable when they died. No one could tell what they originally looked like. I was speechless for a long time. Even from Xiao Qilang's few words, one could sense the heart-stopping intensity of that battle. The eldest princess's son and daughter-in-law are still alive. This is good news. It's the kind of good news that can settle the matter decisively. Does my father know? I asked. The ninth prince shook his head. We haven't had the chance to inform the Duke of Zhengguo yet. It's time, I said. Strike unexpectedly, with one swift effort. Tonight, the third prince must die. The ninth prince nodded solemnly. When I stepped outside, dark clouds loomed overhead. The sky is overcast, the atmosphere heavy and gloomy. Symbolizing the unusual nature of today, returning home, I called Yarrow into the room alone. Yarrow, let me ask you, if Xiao Qilang were still alive, would you have anything to say to him? Yarrow's eyes instantly dimmed, his face was filled with sorrow. I have nothing to say to him, I asked. Then is there anything you want to do with him? Yarrow said, I want to compete with him again in riding and archery. I definitely won't lose to him this time. If possible, I'd also like to fight alongside him. I handed Yarrow a piece of paper. Go ahead, he's waiting for you at this address. Yarrow was first stunned, then shocked, immediately after, ecstatic. Mother, Qilang is still alive. Yarrow practically shouted. I nodded and took out a set of dragon scale armor. The dragon scale armor I gave you for your 15th birthday, you gifted to Xiao Qilang. That set saved Xiao Qilang's life. This set, you wear it, and I hope both of you can stay safe. Jiang Mingyao, go. Go and fight alongside your closest friend. Yes, after severing ties with Wei Lang, all my children have changed their surname to Jiang. Yarrow's eyes instantly reddened. He knelt down and kowtowed heavily several times. Mother, I will not disappoint your expectations. I'm off, my child. Yarrow rode off on his sweat-blood steed, his bow and arrows in hand, disappearing around the street corner. I could no longer hold back my tears. Tonight was destined to be a blood-soaked night. Even with 1,000 reluctances, I cannot stand in his way. My Yarrow has his own battlefield to fight on. The dark clouds grew heavier and heavier. It was only afternoon. Yet the sky had already darkened. I ordered Wenju to bring the meditation cushion. I do not believe in Buddha, nor do I believe in gods. At this moment, however, I wished to seek the protection of all deities. The night drew closer. The capital grew increasingly silent. The silence was somewhat eerie enough to make one's heart uneasy. Xiao Xiao came to my side, gently nestling into my arms. Mother, are you afraid? I asked. Not afraid, Xiao Xiao pointed behind her. Big brother will protect us. I looked at the two half-grown boys fully armed behind Xiao Xiao and nodded. You came just in time. Come pray with me. Many hands make light work. I won't. If gods and Buddhas were useful, Mother wouldn't have suffered. The second son, Jiang Mingzhua, was in his rebellious phase, and his words carried an air of who else but me arrogance. I slapped him on the back. What nonsense are you talking, you brat? Those who achieve great things must always explore multiple avenues. I not only worship Buddha, but also bodhisattvas, the god of wealth, the kitchen god, the old man under the moon, Guan Gong. All the heavenly deities and Buddhas are part of my network. At least one of them is bound to be effective. Jing'e and Xiao Xiao were still young and took my words to heart without question. They knelt on either side of me, praying to the bodhisattvas one moment and the god of wealth the next. Their devotion was truly something to behold. Jiang Mingzhua was stunned by our actions. He stared at us for a long moment, then also knelt down with a flushed face, knocking his head against the ground with loud thuds. I heard my rebellious youth whisper a wish. All the gods and Buddhas, can you hear my voice? I am willing to trade everything I have for my big brother's safe return. Night fell. Once the hour of high had passed, the Qiankuan bell in the imperial city began to toll. 1, 2. The Qiankuan bell, resounding throughout the entire capital, rang a full 9 times, 9 chimes, representing the birth of the supreme ruler, the third prince, who had been drunkenly enjoying himself among a crowd of beauties, sobered up instantly upon hearing the bell. His face changed dramatically, and he kicked the beauty away. Before he could even finish dressing, the sounds of fighting echoed from the courtyard. Third prince, something terrible has happened. The imperial guards have surrounded the prince's residence. The messenger was killed with a single strike, blood splattering across the window. The third prince was horrified. He had no time to prepare before the doors and windows were kicked open. Dozens of divine martial guards stormed into the bedchamber. They raised their knives and struck, 1 slash per person, showing no mercy. The women were terrified, not even bothering to put on their clothes as they fled in all directions. In the blink of an eye, the palace was awash with blood and littered with corpses. The trusted aides protected the third prince as they retreated step by step. Master, the main gate has been breached, and the Prince of Li's mansion is surrounded. A trusted aide wiped the blood from his face. We have no choice but to abandon this place and escape through the secret passage. The third prince's face darkened. He never expected the ninth prince to launch a sudden attack at such a time. He was caught completely off guard. If we don't cut off the tail to survive, we can only be killed. Only by escaping from here does he have a chance to turn the tables. The third prince led a group of trusted followers to the secret passage. The divine martial guards were in hot pursuit. By the time the third prince successfully entered the secret passage, only 3 to 5 of his dozens of trusted followers remained. Upon reaching a safe location, the third prince urgently released the signal to raise troops. The signal exploded in the air, echoing throughout the entire capital. Not long after, war drums resounded throughout the capital, both inside and outside the city walls. The sounds of battle ranged from near to far, with the clashing of swords, the pounding of hooves. Rising and falling in waves, the air was thick with the scent of blood. The streets and alleys of the capital were littered with corpses. Even as we hid deep within the courtyards, we could still hear the sickening sound of blades piercing flesh. Those outside had already been driven to a frenzy of killing. Xiao Xiao held me tightly, her small body trembling uncontrollably. "Don't be afraid," I stroked her head, "it will be over soon." Zhuo and Jinga, 2 half-grown youths, also gripped their swords tightly, their bodies tense. I didn't know how to comfort them. My father, my brothers, and my Yaya are all fighting, all in the midst of battle. What they face are flashing blades, vast armies, rivers of blood, and fields strewn with corpses. The slightest misstep could mean an eternal separation between heaven and earth. If anything were to happen to any one of them, it would be a pain I could not bear. It will end. I also drew Zhuo and Jinga close. We have united our hearts and strength to worship all the heavenly gods and Buddhas. Surely one of them will hear our prayers. The children are very strong. Even though they were terrified, they did not cry. They held me, and I held them. The sounds of battle continued throughout the night. It wasn't until the sky began to lighten that the commotion outside finally subsided. "Madam, it seems to be over," Wen Lan said. "I'll go out and investigate." "No need, it's too dangerous to go out now." "Let's wait a little longer," I said. "Someone will come to deliver a message to us." Wen Lan looked resolute. "Madam, this servant has the ability to protect herself. The sooner we know the news, the sooner we can make plans." "Madam, you won't be able to persuade this servant." After saying that, Wen Lan left without looking back. After she left, Wen Zhu, with red eyes, locked the door several times. I understand Wen Lan's plan. If the ninth prince succeeds, then everyone will be happy. If the ninth prince fails, we must take advantage of the chaos to escape. The sky was fully bright. The sky remained gloomy and overcast. The thick clouds seemed to have descended to the mortal world, dark and oppressive, making it hard to breathe. With my children, I clasped my hands together, sitting upright and solemnly, praying that whichever deity might be free at the moment could hear our pleas. Seeking divine intervention seemed to have become the only thing we could do now. I don't know how much time had passed. There was a knock at the door. Wenju gave a start, and my heart skipped a beat along with the children's. "Who is it?" Wenju grabbed an axe and hid behind the door. "It's me." When Lan's voice came through, "I'm back. Open the door quickly." Tears welled up in Wenju's eyes as she put down the axe and went to open the door. "Wait," I said. When Lan's voice doesn't sound right. Wenju was taken aback. In her nervousness, she didn't think much of it. But with my reminder, she also noticed it. When Lan appears calm and composed, but in reality, she is an impatient person who can't keep things to herself. If the person outside the door was truly Wen Lan, she would have directly said whether the ninth prince had won or lost. Even if she hadn't gathered any information, Wen Lan would have told the truth. In any case, Wen Lan would never say something like, "I'm back, open the door quickly." Wenju's face turned deathly pale, her body trembling slightly. "Madam, you go first, I'll hold them off." "They're after me," I said. I hid the children. The children looked terrified. "Mother," I looked at Zhuo, Jiang Mingzhua. "Can you promise Mother that you'll protect your younger siblings well?" The young man, called upon, trembled slightly. He was very afraid, yet also very brave. "Yes," he said through gritted teeth. "I entrust my younger siblings to you." I patted Zhuo's shoulder heavily. "No matter what happens, do not come out, do not hold Mother back. Only by hiding well can Mother fight without worries. Understand?" Zhuo's eyes were red. He restrained his emotions and took Jinga and Xiao Xiao to hide. After settling the 3 children, Wenju opened the door, outside the door. Wen Lan was tied up with her mouth stuffed full of cotton. She was severely injured, unable to speak, and even breathing was difficult. The person calling at the door was indeed not Wen Lan. I looked at the several people who had taken Wen Lan hostage. They all looked quite disheveled, covered in blood and grime, with disheveled hair and clothes. Their original appearances were unrecognizable. But I have been married to Wei Lang for 17 years. I would recognize him even if he turned to ashes. Recognizing Wei Lang, it's not hard to guess the identities of the others. The charming woman standing next to Wei Lang is Liu Qianxian. The man surrounded in the center is the third prince. The two standing behind are likely the third prince's guards. Jiang Wen. Wei Lang, upon seeing me, looked fiercely at me. "You really are here?" I stared coldly at Wei Lang. "Release Wen Lan, and I'll be your hostage," Wei Lang snarled. "Do you think you still have room to bargain?" I sneered, pressing the knife against my neck. "If you don't do as I say, I'll slit my throat right now." Wei Lang wished he could cut me into 1,000 pieces. "Even now, you dare threaten us?" I couldn't be bothered to pay attention to Wei Lang. "I am your last chance. If I die, you will die with me." "Third prince, you are a clever man. You should know the capital I have to be fearless." The third prince's face turned ashen. He truly had no way out. A maid was of no use to him. Change, as the two guards threw Wen Lan over. They seized me. Wenju also wanted to follow. "Wenju," I stopped her. "Help Wen Lan treat her wounds and wait for me to return." Wenju's eyes were brimming with tears. She nodded heavily. "We'll wait for you to come home." I was taken to the city gate by the third prince and Wei Lang. Above the city gate, Yarowa and Xiao Qilang stood tall on the city wall. The capital has 8 main gates. Yarowa and Xiao Qilang were responsible for guarding the southeast gate. Wei Lang and the third prince deliberately brought me to the southeast gate, clearly intending to use me to threaten Yarowa. Wei Lang was certain that Yarowa would not let me die. "Xiao Qihan, Wei Mingyao, if you obediently open the city gates, I will release Jiang Wen," the third prince said, pressing the knife against my throat. "If you do not open the gates, I will have Jiang Wen buried with me." I looked up at the 2 young men on the city wall. Beneath the dark clouds, 2 young men stood tall and imposing, radiant as stars. Excellent. They were alive. They were alive and unharmed. Yarowa saw that I was being held hostage, his face deathly pale. Xiao Qilang's expression was also extremely grim. Wei Lang shouted loudly, "Wei Mingyao, your father and mother are both here. If you have any filial piety left, open the city gate and let us go. If you don't open the city gate, I will perish together with your mother." Yarowa is still a young man, and my appearance has disrupted his rhythm. Xiao Qilang is clearly also caught in a dilemma. I said, "Qilang, if on the battlefield, the enemy takes a loved one hostage as leverage, what should be done?" Xiao Qilang hesitated to speak. "Tell me loudly," I said. Xiao Qilang glanced at Yarowa, closed his eyes, and shouted, "Attack as usual." I nodded with satisfaction. "Yarowa, do you remember our conversation when you left the house? You said you want to compete with Xiao Qilang in horse riding and archery. Come on, both of you, aim at me." Both the third prince and Wei Lang thought I had gone mad. Wei Lang gritted his teeth and said, "Wei Mingyao, if you kill your mother and father, you will be a sinner for all eternity, condemned by heaven and earth." I sternly replied, "Wei Lang, don't be disgusting. Yarowa doesn't bear the surname Wei. He bears the surname Jiang. Don't even think about trying to use that little bit of family affection to hold Yarowa hostage. My Yarowa would never be threatened by a sewer rat like you. My Yarowa, he is Ming Yao, destined to shine so brightly that even the sun, moon, and stars cannot overshadow his radiance. He will shine his own light, do what he must, and will never be influenced by a shady character like you." "Yarowa," I said to Yarowa, "remember, you don't have to be bound by so-called family ties. You are who you are. As long as you have no morals, no one can hold you hostage." Upon hearing my words, the dim light in Yarowa's eyes instantly brightened. He exchanged a glance with Xiao Qilang. They raised their bows together, aiming at me. "Madness. You unfilial son, you've gone mad." Wei Lang was furious. "If you dare to kill your mother and father," whoosh, Wei Lang hadn't finished speaking. A cold arrow accurately pierced through Wei Lang's thigh. Caught off guard by the arrow, Wei Lang fell to the ground, blood gushed out, and Wei Lang covered the wound, his eyes wide with fury. "You're right, Mother, as long as I have no morals, no one can hold me hostage, Yarrow said coldly. I won't kill you. But I can watch you die. If the timing weren't so inappropriate, I'd really want to applaud Yarrow. Well done, Yarrow, you truly are my son. These words couldn't have been more to my liking. Chilang, I'll let you have one arrow, but after this, I won't go easy on you, Yarrow said with a spirited expression. Xiao Chilang sneered. As if you've ever beaten me before. Yarrow raised his head confidently. This time, I won't lose. His arrow was aimed directly at me, to be precise. It was aimed at the third prince who was holding me captive. The third prince wore a sinister expression. He probably knew that threatening me was useless and had decided to kill me. Yarrow and Xiao Chilang did not give him the chance. Countless arrows fell. Each arrow was more fierce than the last. The third prince was too busy protecting himself. Two guards, in order to cover the third prince, voluntarily acted as shields to block the rain of arrows. The third prince caught his breath and finally had the chance to kill me. The cold blade slid across my neck, and warm blood gushed out. Just one more inch, and the blade would have cut my throat. Death was closing in, strangely. I didn't feel afraid at all. I even thought, if the King of Hell wanted me dead by the third watch, what if I showed up at the seventh watch instead? Maybe I'd get some special treatment. Before that thought could fully settle, Yarrow's arrow struck the third prince's wrist. The knife clattered to the ground. I took the opportunity to break free from the third prince's control. Before I could catch my breath, Liu Qianqian, who was nearby, seized the chance and took me hostage once again. Me, Sai. This pampered, delicate body of mine, utterly powerless. Liu Qianqian's face was filled with hatred. Jiang Wn, you bitch, you've finally fallen into my hands. Liu Qianqian's hair was disheveled, her clothes were tattered, and her face was dirty, her expression shattered, extremely ugly. I hate ugly people. Too lazy to look at her, disdainfully turning my face away, Liu Qianqian was infuriated by my attitude. She was hysterical like a madwoman. Jiang Wn, it's you again. You caused my family to be torn apart, you stole my Wei Lang, you forced me and Wei Lang to be separated for 17 years. I finally became Wei Lang's wife, I finally won against you, and now you come to ruin my happiness again. You deserve to die, you deserve 1,000 deaths. I was speechless. Are you out of your mind? Your family's ruin is because your father committed a major crime. It's what you deserve. What does that have to do with me? Wei Lang begged for 3 years to marry me. He was the one who sought my hand. Instead of blaming him for his fickleness, you blame me for ruining your marriage. Clearly, you were the ones who kidnapped me, and now you blame me for ruining your plans. What kind of bandit logic is this? Liu Qianqian seemed to have been struck where it hurt. That gentle, delicate face twisted into a hideous expression. Jiang Wn, I may have lost, but even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. I won't lose out. Come die with me. I looked at the frantic Liu Qianqian, a flicker of mockery flashing in my eyes. I'm truly sorry. Although I've lived a life of luxury and am physically weak, in my eyes, you're not even worth a chicken. At most, you're just a bug. As a normal person, squashing a bug is as easy as pie. When I went for Liu Qianqian, she didn't even have time to react. By the time she stopped breathing, I was already wiping my hands with a look of disgust. What a pity for these well-maintained hands of mine. Still, they ended up getting soiled by these filthy things. Liu Qianqian and the guards were killed. The third prince and Wei Lang were captured alive. The dust has settled. Yarrow quickly ran down from the city wall. His eyes were red, and he knelt before me with a thud. Mother. I casually threw the blood-stained handkerchief onto Liu Qianqian and smiled gently. I've been keeping count for you. This time, you and Chilang are tied. I said this as the thick clouds split open. Sunlight shone through the cracks. The oppressive cloud cover slowly dispersed. The sky was clear, the air fresh, and everything was bright and pure. A rare, beautiful day. This brief turmoil was quelled overnight, returning to peace. The emperor, gravely ill, abdicated, and the 9th prince ascended the throne, taking the reign title Wanjia. The 3rd prince's crimes were too numerous to record. He was expelled from the imperial clan and sentenced to immediate execution. Wei Lang embezzled military supplies, leading to the annihilation of the Xiao family's army, and falsely accused the Xiao family of treason. His crimes were heinous, and his entire family was executed. The grievances of the Xiao family were cleared, and old General Xiao was granted the title of Duke Protector of the state, awarded a first-class hereditary marquis, given a golden book and iron certificate, and Xiao Qilang was appointed as a first-class ever victorious general. Additionally, a hero's mausoleum was established, where the souls of 100,000 heroes were laid to rest, receiving the worship of the people. Before Wei Lang's execution, he wanted to see me. I went to see him. Wei Lang wept bitterly, recalling the sweet moments we once shared, trying to rekindle our past affection. I listened quietly as he finished speaking. Wei Lang. The moment you laid a hand on Yaroa, you were already a dead man. Wei Lang froze. You actually know. I looked at him mockingly. Not only do I know you targeted Yaroa, I also know you and Liu Qianqian plan to eliminate all my children. You want to see my family destroyed and me in unbearable pain, all because my father presided over the Fang family's case back then, and you've directed your hatred toward our Jiang family. How ridiculous. Oh. The things in your study's secret room, I took them to the 9th prince. Your death was all my doing. Wei Lang had completely lost his mind. He wanted to kill me. Chains bound him, his body covered in severe wounds, unable to move, forced to crawl on the ground like a dog. I looked down at him from above. I told you, in my world, there's only widowhood. Look, I made it happen. I turned and walked away, leaving Wei Lang to bark helplessly. After Wei Lang was executed, my life gradually returned to peace. Before severing ties with Wei Lang, I used Feng Kai's death to clean up the backyard and sold off many people. Most of those sold off were loyal to me. They were temporarily placed in the tooth shop. After Wei Lang was sentenced to the execution of his entire family, none of the servants in the Anping Marquis's household who flattered the powerful and deceived the weak were spared. Those who had been sold out were no longer related to the Anping Marquis and were not affected, including Miss Xiangning. Wei Lang took Xiangning as a concubine to protect Liu Qianqian, yet he never touched her. He claimed it was because she was dirty. How laughable. A rotten cucumber still has the nerve to call others dirty. After Liu Qianqian became the lady of Anping Marquis, she could not tolerate Xiangning and found an excuse to sell her off, while redeeming the person. I conveniently bought Xiangning's freedom as well. Xiangning is beautiful and excels at playing the qin, singing, and dancing. I made a great deal. After arranging everything, my courtyard regained its former liveliness. I eat, drink, and have fun every day. A life with money, leisure, and a strong backing is simply too good to be true. Unfortunately, just a few days after the peace returned, my mother came to ask me indirectly if I wanted to remarry. I turned down my mother. My mother refused to give up and enlisted my sister-in-law to persuade me. When my sister-in-law failed to convince me, she mobilized the 4 children. After the 4 children clearly expressed their respect for my opinion, my father finally swallowed his pride and pleaded before Emperor Wenjia. Emperor Wenjia was moved by my father's tearful and snot-filled lamentations. He specially summoned me. Lady Jiang, there are many fine men in this world. If you take a liking to any, I can arrange a marriage for you. I was overwhelmed. Your Majesty, I am at an age where I could be a grandmother, and I have long since lost any desire to remarry. Emperor Wenjia laughed and said, Lady Jiang, with your radiant beauty, you look no older than 20. How could you spend the rest of your life alone? If you have your eye on any man, just tell me, and I will surely satisfy your wishes. I knew that if I didn't pull out the big guns, this matter would never come to an end. I looked at Emperor Wenjia with utmost seriousness. Ordinary people cannot look directly at the emperor's face, but I am no ordinary person. When Emperor Wenjia was still the 9th prince, he and I had already become friends. I can look directly at him, and I can refer to myself as I in his presence. Emperor Wenjia was a bit unnerved by my stare. I think His Majesty is quite good. I wonder if there is any man in the world better than His Majesty, I said softly. If not. Emperor Wenjia was startled by me. He waved his hand, rejecting the idea 3 times. I cannot. I have deep affection for the Empress. I cannot. I smiled, my eyes curving into crescents. Your Majesty, I haven't finished speaking. If there is no man better than Your Majesty, I will not remarry. I know you mean well for me. In this world, a woman's path is to marry into a good family, to regard her husband as her heaven, her children as her heaven, to assist her husband and raise her children. I have lived most of my life like this, And now that I have finally broken free from these shackles, I have money, leisure, filial children, and your majesty as my support. Why should I give up such a carefree life and bring suffering upon myself for the rest of my life? I want to live differently. There are many things I still want to do. For example, I want to establish a charity home to take in homeless orphans, abandoned girls, and so on. Anyway, marriage is not my only path. Emperor Wonjia witnessed my determination. He no longer grants me a marriage. Instead, he bestows upon me a golden token. With this token, I can do as I please. Just as I was making the charity house thrive, Emperor Wonjia has bestowed upon me the title of Super First-Rank Lady of Honor. With the designation Bright Pearl, I possess a single bright pearl, long imprisoned by worldly toil. Today, the dust clears and its light emerges, illuminating 10,000 mountains and rivers. I am fond of the title Lady Bright Pearl. In the days to come, I am no one's wife, nor do I belong to anyone. I am simply myself. I am a pearl polished from dust, radiating a unique brilliance. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking